Here at the Kate Dalley Show, just a reminder that we don't have to go to war just because BlackRock and Raytheon say so. The show starts now.
It's as simple as this. Each mother or father raises his boy or girl, as the case may be, the way that he thinks is best. And I think it's best for you to get a quarter and work for it. You see, when you give something, in this instance, cleaning the garage, and you get something in return, like a quarter, that's the greatest feeling in the world. You do feel good after working, don't you?
Uh-huh. Good and tired.
Well, as you get bigger, well, you'll be doing more and more work for more and more return, and that good feeling will get bigger. Do you understand what I mean?
I'm not going to get 75 cents. And I have to work for the 25.
Right. All clear to you?
Yeah. That's the tired you get.
All right. We'll get to Mel in just a second. I got Mel Mattison on today. Woohoo! It's going to be a fun one. You're gonna hear a lot about money and cash and gold and silver. I got a lot of clips to play. That was a good old Andy Griffith clip for you. I love the good old Andy Griffith clips. So about money, working for a quarter. And you guys remember the good old days, right? So happy to be here. I've got Mel here on tap. I'll add him to the stage in just a second here. And I've got a lot of clips today too. And after Mel, I will discuss a thought on Erica Kirk and also John Kiriakou, who was a CIA asset who's been on my show. He had a very, very interesting take on Epstein, and I'm going to poke a lot of holes through it. So I'll play that for you. And of course, a little bit of the Epstein, whatever. Anyway, the Epstein interviews that have been suddenly weird timing leaked, which is kind of weird, kind of odd. Anyway, there's just so much to discuss today. And of course, I'll take your calls. And I'm super, super happy to have Mel on the stage. Mel is with me. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Kate. How are you doing?
How are you? I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to have you back.
I'm great to be back. And sorry if there's any technical difficulties at the beginning there.
Oh, no, you're fine. You know what? We roll with it because it happens on the daily. So I'm glad to do it. Anyway, I'm glad to have you back. You actually, people can follow you on X, and I hope they do. I also want to make sure people realize that there is a great book called Quoz that you did, Quoz, and you can actually grab that book. Is Amazon the best place?
Yeah, Amazon, wherever books are sold. It's distributed by Simon & Schuster, so people should be able to find it anywhere.
Awesome. Well, okay. So gold and silver, what happened since Friday? We've got all kinds of stuff going on. I cannot wait to get your take. Let me just tell you something about Mel. Mel's been doing this show for a long time. And every time he says something, it comes to fruition. It happens. So I don't want to jinx this, but your record is pretty stellar on predicting what's going to happen. And I just want everyone to kind of sit and simmer in the gold and silver prices because you nailed it and you said they were going to go through the roof. So I have to give you props on this because not a lot of people are able to kind of see through the murk and give the analysis that you give. So I really appreciate you on that. So just got to give you some props.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate it. And I do think there's a lot of people out there who have talked about gold.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about a lot of these people is they tend to coincide that with at the same time the market is going to collapse, like the stock market.
Yeah, for sure.
And I am one of the few people who has been saying gold and silver are going to go up, but also the stock market. Mm-hmm. And obviously the stock market is down a little bit today, but I mean, we literally hit new highs this week. So, you know, I'm one of the few people that's like gold's going to 10,000, but so is the S&P 500. And so there's not a lot of people who have a way to reconcile why the stock market is going to keep going up, but also gold is going to keep going up. And so that is something that's a little bit unique to me. And that has actually been the right call because there's tons of people who are out there saying, sky is falling, bonds are going to collapse, stock market's going to collapse, and gold's going to go through the moon. but there's not a lot of people who have been saying gold's going to go up a lot. Stock market's going to go up too, just not as much as gold.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Of course, he'll take some callers, I'm sure. And the phone number to call in live to the show. The show's so different because I could just be a podcast, but no, I've made life a lot harder on myself to be a live show so that you can call in and you can text in a message, which is new to this show. So, of course, you can also watch on YouTube, X, and Rumble. But the Kate Daly Show, you can also go to katedalyradio.com and catch all the There's over like 8,000 hours of podcasts that you can get there. But the phone number is 435-680-2503. And I encourage you to do that because here, I'll add it to the bottom of the screen just to make sure that you guys know the number. And so kind of tell us what you're thinking now. Tell us what gold and silver are at right now and what we're kind of more details.
Yeah. I mean, so you mentioned, my X account, and I was on there yesterday telling people to buy gold. And it was the first time I was telling people to buy gold since September. So I love gold. I love silver. I think I would be shocked if gold's not $15,000 an ounce by 2030. I think we're in a long-term bull market, and a lot of people, they're not used to this. They've never seen it, but you got to go back to 1971 when we were taken off the gold standard by Nixon.
Okay.
And within 10 years, at the time we were on the gold standard, gold was roughly $35 an ounce. 10 years later, it was $800 an ounce.
Wow.
That's a 25x return.
Whoa.
So if you said gold when this bull market started was around 2000, and it's going to go up 25 times from there, you're at 50,000. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do what happened between 1979 and 1981, which was at 25 times. But I think a lot of people, their mindset, they don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand what gold can do in a long-term bull market. And the first time I came on your show, I think gold was around 2000. And then I told you, I said, it's going to 5,000. It's going, I mean, people can go back to the shows. This is a phase shift. This is gold re-entering the monetary order. Gold was the monetary system for thousands of years. There was this brief aberration from 1971 until about 2 or 3 years ago. Where the basis of the monetary order was the United States Treasury bond. That order is over. And whether it's Brazil, whether it's China, and Poland just announced, they're expanding their gold reserves by hundreds of metric tons of gold. These are central banks that used to own and buy United States treasuries. They're buying gold. That's not going to change. And what we saw in the gold market on Friday and Monday was we saw gold go parabolic, and this had a lot to do with the paper market and the futures market. So people that don't trade gold like I do, I trade futures. The gold futures contract expired on Friday. What does that mean? It expired on Friday. On Monday and Tuesday, there were a lot of people that were short gold, and they had to buy gold last week. They had to. They had no choice. Doesn't matter what cost it was, because if they did not close their short positions, they needed to deliver physical gold as of the close of business on Friday. So everybody was buying gold on Monday and Tuesday last week. And that's why it spiked like, $500 an ounce on Monday and Tuesday. All those people closed those short positions, and then there was nobody left to buy because nobody wants to buy a futures contract that's going to close on Friday. They started buying the April futures contract. So there were no buyers for the February futures contract. The contract collapsed. Once you came into yesterday, people needed to reopen their purchases, and that's why you're seeing gold doing today. Like on the overnight yesterday, gold was as low as something around 4,400. Now it's close to 5,000. It's up almost $600 in like 30 hours. This is just the beginning. Now, I'm not saying gold's going back to 5,500 this week.
Mm-hmm.
What I am saying is that this is a long-term, multi-year trajectory, and that a lot of people might look at the fall on Friday and say that's the end. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying no. This is just natural part of the process, and we're still in a multi-year, long-term bull market that will get gold to $10,000-$15,000 an ounce within the next 5 to 7 years.
Wow. Okay. So here's a comment on the texting line 435-680-2503. Does he agree that CME raised margins triggered a sell-off?
Yeah, they raise margins as well, and that's the paper market. Everybody knows about the paper market. There has been a concerted effort by central bankers to keep the price of gold low, because it's a competitor to the United States Treasury and to the U.S. dollar. And so everybody has wanted to keep the gold price like low. And not only that, but once in 1971, when we left the gold standard, you had central banks actually selling gold. The Bank of England used to be one of the largest holders of gold. Gordon Brown was the chair of the Bank of England, under which auspices they sold a lot of gold. Or no, excuse me, he was the exchequer, the finance secretary in Britain, who later became the prime minister. He sold almost all Britain's gold at $300 an ounce. I mean, it was like one of the dumbest moves you've ever heard of. And people just don't want to believe that this is actually happening, that gold is returning as the center of the monetary base. This is something I've been talking about for years. I wrote a book, Quaz. It's literally Quaz. It's a financial thriller. It's about gold becoming the center of the money. I wrote it in 2022, and at the end of that book, not to give anything away, but gold's close to $25,000 an ounce. So this is just what's happening. Gold is coming back as the replacement for the U.S. dollar. It's not going to go away. There's going to be volatility. If you look at a chart of gold from 1971 to 1981, when it went up 25 times, there were times when it went down 40, 50%. I mean, it will go down between now and 2035.
Okay.
But that does not mean that it's not going to be $15,000 an ounce in 5 years. So this is just what happens when you're going through what I would call, people call it a monetary reset. There's plenty of terms for it. I've said there's a lot of people who will talk about this. I think the one thing that I think differentiates me a lot is a lot of people then say, well, this must coincide, Mel, with a collapse of the financial system, and I just don't see that happening. I think the reason gold is going up is because people understand they can't let the financial system collapse. And the way you don't let the financial system collapse is you continue to print money and debase the dollar. And so in nominal terms, the stock market will go up and it will look good on paper. Oh, we're at new highs.
Right.
But when you compare it to the price of gold, it's going to go down.
Wow. So we have a deep state that wants to control everything, right, in digital money. So what are their moves? What are they doing to make sure that this doesn't happen? Like you said.
Well, I think this ties in a little bit. I think we have to get into Kevin Warsh.
Okay.
Who's been nominated by Trump as the new chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. I know.
It's not pretty.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's bad. It's really it's as bad as Scott, the treasurer. So working for all the Soros funds and developing those. So yeah, it's bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, there's a connection to the Soros fund with Warsh. There is a connection to the Rothschilds. There is a connection to the Estee Lauder fortune.
Yeah.
There is a connection to the World Jewish Congress.
Yep.
This is not, anyone who's a market observer looks at Trump, who says, we want lower rates. We want essentially what they call easy monetary policy.
Right.
And he had 4 final candidates. He had Rick Reeder from BlackRock. He had Chris Waller, who's already on the board. He had, Kevin Warsh, and he had one other one he was looking at, slips my mind right now. But the bottom line was he had 4 people, and 3 of them were known for wanting lower interest rates. They all wanted lower interest rates. Kevin Warsh was the one person during the financial crisis who said we need to have higher interest rates. He's someone who has said we should not print money. And so if you look at everything that Trump has said, and you say, why is he appointing someone who's considered what they call a hawk? So people that want low interest rates are called doves. People that want higher, hawk. This guy is hawkish, about as hawkish as they come.
Okay.
And you're like, why is he doing this? And then you look into the family. And then you say, okay, who is Kevin Warsh's wife? She is the daughter of the sole heir to the Estee Lauder billion-dollar cosmetic fortune, a guy named Ronald Lauder, who happens to be the president of the World Jewish Congress, who happens to have as its chairman David de Rothschild. So we are now having a Federal Reserve president. This goes back, the first episode you and I ever did almost 2 years ago was about the Rothschilds and the formation of the Bank of England and how central banks are evil, how there's this banking cabal. And this isn't about anti-Semitism or anything, religious.
Right.
This is just about facts.
It's just the facts about banking and money and
and how the Rothschilds and the Jewish banking cabal is still involved, whether it's Goldman Sachs, the Rothschild, Kevin Ward.
And I would add pretend Jewish. Pretend Jewish. I think
their allegiance is to money. Napoleon said this.
Yeah.
Financiers have no patriotism. They have no nation.
Yep.
Their allegiance is to money. And it doesn't matter if they're Christian or Jewish or whatever. There's a cabal of families who just happen to be Jewish that are the backbone of this central banking system. Yes. It's not there's a difference between like causality and correlation.
Exactly.
There tends to be there tends to be a Jewish correlation here, but I'm not implying causality.
And I'm going to imply that these people use that so that they have some protection from what they do, because you're called bad names if you point it out or critique. So I'm going to add in that they're more like Satanists to me, but
you can't do it. You can't talk about it. You'll wind up like John Mearsheimer, who is shunned by academia because he wrote a book called the Israel Lobby, and I prefer his term, the Israel Lobby. Because if you think about what the Jewish World Congress is, and this is what Warsh's stepfather is the president of, like, what is it? And you look on like Wikipedia, what is it? It's the diplomatic arm of the Jewish people. Yeah. And it has UN recognition. Yeah. It's headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Is there a Muslim World Congress? Is there a Christian World Congress? No. There's a difference between the way Jewish people operate and every other religion. They have a theocracy state in Israel, and then they have something that overrides everything. Ronald Lauder is like best friends with Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, these guys are like tied at the hip. This is just the way things operate. These are facts. If people want to then claim that you're anti-Semitic because you're telling these facts, then that's fine. They can claim it.
Yeah.
But Fox News sure as heck won't say this.
Oh, I know.
CNN won't say it because you're not allowed to say this. And this is what's so valuable about programs like yours, Kate, is this information is kept from people.
Yep. 100%.
You could watch 24 hours of news about Kevin Warsh, and you could never hear what I just told you. And I think this is pretty important. I think this is pretty important information. And I think it explains a lot why somebody who was known for being hawkish and wanting high interest rates gets appointed by Donald Trump, who has done nothing but say he wants low interest rates.
Yep. I hope people can honestly and really honestly and openly look at what you're saying right now. I think this is extremely important to take in, because even just looking at the treasurer that he appointed, who developed the Soros funds that we all
Soros connections is with Warsh. He worked for this guy.
Yeah.
He recently worked for a guy who was with Soros. This is all Soros, World Jewish Con. I mean, this is all the same people.
It's all the AI people. It's Peter Thiel. And JD and Peter Thiel are buddies. And it's a box of rocks when it comes to government. At both sides of the aisle, they're the same. It's just different shades of lipstick. And it's so hard to get people to see it. It's really frustrating, actually. So I'm glad you brought that up. I really am.
No, I think it has to be brought up. And I think it's important because it ties into the entire geopolitical circumstance that we're in today.
Yes.
Which is this threat that the United States is going to get involved in a war with Iran,
right,
as a proxy for the puppet master Bibi Netanyahu. So if we're going to send over aircraft carriers, he basically called off the attack. Trump was ready to attack on January 14th, but we didn't have our aircraft carriers over there. And Netanyahu told Trump, don't do it, because he knew Israel was exposed.
Yeah.
Because without the United States, Israel's a sitting duck, which would get destroyed by Iran. So unless we give our umbrella of aircraft carriers and THAAD missiles, and a lot of people don't understand this. We spent over 25% of our THAAD anti-aircraft, anti-missile defense system inventory defending Israel against Iran. And we're going over there once again to defend Israel. And people need, whether it's Ghislaine Maxwell, whether it's Epstein, whether it's Warsh, whether it's the Rothschilds, whether it's Bibi Netanyahu. And again, I don't want to make this at all about religion or anti-Semitism. I only want to make it about the facts. Yeah. This is the truth of what's going on in our world today, is we have aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean to protect Israel, which, as far as I can see, does nothing for the United States national defense or security. And as far as I know, it was Netanyahu who called off the attack on Iran last month because we had our carriers in the Western Hemisphere and we were not able to protect Tel Aviv. So if this is the way U.S. foreign policy is being run, these are the people we're putting in charge of the central bank, you have to wonder what's really going on in our government.
Amen. I actually have a question from the audience, but I did want to say, and I said this just a little while ago, I think there's three views on Israel from Americans, I should say. Number one, Israel has a deep state. Number two, Israel is a deep state, the entire thing. And then number three, Israel has never been touched by the deep state at all. So I'm not in camp three, okay? Because I know that the deep state is everywhere and penetrates everywhere. And even when you look at the creation, who created it, the UN, there's lots of problems here. And I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about the government, just like I think you are too. So this is a question for you. On February 15th, brokers are required to report every $3,000 silver transaction. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, gold and silver have been a threat to the US dollar.
Yeah.
I think there's no question that we are in a multi-year phase where the United States government, in coordination with the largest U.S. banks, such as JP Morgan, are essentially stating we're going to there's actually a statement out there, it's called free gold.
Okay.
So there's a belief that gold has been basically under wraps, that gold and silver is part of this. And I tend to focus on gold. So with all respect to the silver lovers out there, and I'm a huge silver lover. I've been I have silver all over my house. I have like 10-ounce coins laying around. This microphone, literally,
at Mel's house.
I keep this microphone sitting on a 100-ounce bar of silver just as I've been a precious metal freak for decades. Like, I bought that bar for probably like $800. It's worth
Yeah.
over 10,000 now.
Right.
Look, I'm a precious metals guy. I love silver,
Mm-hmm.
but gold is the monetary metal. Now, this is actually discussed a little bit in Quaz, which is, the original bimetallic. This is a bimetallic standard debate. Originally, the United States was bimetallic. We had a 15-to-1 ratio between gold and silver. It was later changed to 16-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
Williams Jennings Bryant in the 1896 Democratic Convention campaign made one of the most famous speeches of the entire 19th century, which was this cross of gold speech. And a lot of people don't understand, what did he mean, cross of gold?
Right.
It's like, ask most people they might have heard of the Williams Jennings Bryan's cross of gold speech, but
Right.
they don't know what it was about.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you what it was.
I really don't. I really don't know.
No, most people don't know. Cross of gold was, he was saying, don't pin us to this cross of gold. Don't take us away from silver.
Ah. Okay.
It was the U.S. was always silver and gold. And the British bankers wanted it to be all gold. And he said, don't put us on this cross of gold. Don't take away silver as money. Because of something that was called the Coinage Act of 1873, which is where silver was essentially outlawed as a currency.
Okay.
And this was because the British bankers didn't have silver, because there were so many big silver mines in places like Nevada and where you're from in Utah. The U.S. was getting rich on silver. And the British bankers in London said, whoa, whoa, whoa. These Americans have a bunch of silver. Only gold is now money.
Right.
And this is such an old game, Kate.
Yeah.
This is the same game that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. I talk about it in our first episode, 1694, the founding of the Bank of England, why they did it. This whole thing of like getting the first exclusive license to print money so that a central bank could print money, collect gold and silver from the people, give it to the king, William III. And then William III would take that gold. He would pay interest to the bankers, and people would get banknotes. And this is the same 500-year-old game, and it just keeps going on. And the free gold movement is like, finally, gold is coming back as the center of the monetary universe. And this is something that does not happen every year. This isn't something that like, oh, well, wait 15 or 20 years, it'll happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a once in a lifetime situation.
And you're saying buy. Because people keep asking, what's he saying? I'm going, he's saying buy it because it's going way up farther, probably farther than you can even think.
$20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
Within the next 10, 20 years. I'm not saying if gold is going to go to $10,000 by June.
Right.
What I'm saying is gold is becoming the monetary core. This is what it always was. You go back to Bretton Woods, 1944. You have John Maynard Keynes. He wanted to have as the center of the financial system, post Bretton Woods, post World War II monetary system. He wanted something he called the bank core, which is derived from the French word for gold. It was going to be a gold-based. Gold just works for international trade. Right. What you're seeing is the United States has been exporting gold, and China's been importing it. Gold moves to where the manufacturing power is.
Right.
Gold is the exchange unit. Gold is something that cannot be duplicated. It can't be replicated. It's not software. It's not printed. And it's something that keeps fairness. So it's not ideal. You could use aluminum if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Using something like aluminum it's not very condensed, and it has a practical purpose. The beauty of gold is it doesn't have a practical purpose. And this is one other than jewelry, really. And this is one of the reasons why I worry sometimes about silver, because silver actually has industrial uses. And a lot of people will use that as a bullish thing. And they'll say, well, I would say that governments could tamp down the price of silver if necessary, because it goes into so many electronics
I
and,
see.
and solar. But gold could go to whatever. Gold can go to 20,000, and it doesn't. If copper goes to $20 a pound,
Mm-hmm.
it, if silver goes to $1,000 an ounce, that hurts industry. That hurts the economy. If gold goes to $20,000 an ounce, the economy keeps chugging. It's just the absorption mechanism for the devaluation of the $350 trillion in global debt that we have. Yesterday, there was a headline on Bloomberg: "World reaches 1 trillion in new debt issuance, quickest ever." Meaning we've already issued over $1 trillion of new debt this year, and that was just like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the world is just adding trillions upon trillions of dollars of debt every few weeks. This is not going to end. Now, what can absorb that?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it can't be silver, because silver is too important to electronics and things. So I think silver has a price cap on it.
Okay.
So I own silver. I own silver.
Mm-hmm.
It's higher beta, they call it. It'll go up more, it'll go down more, it'll do whatever. But if you're looking, and like I said, I'm not talking about what gold's going to do in the next week or two. Could gold go down tomorrow, $200? Of course it could. What I'm talking about is, what is gold going to do over the next 5 to 10 years?
Right.
And I just do not see any way that it's not going up. And
Yeah.
it's becoming the backbone of the monetary system. This was the entire monetary system for as long as human history has basically been civilized, except for 1971 until about 2 or 3 years ago, and then it became gold again.
Amazing. I've had friends that have been traveling and said over in Asia, they are standing around the block in lines to buy gold, in lines to buy silver. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, that we don't really see what's going on around the world, but people are very, very much buying. And I think people should. I really do. I remember a couple of years, what was gold at a couple of years ago when you came on the show?
It was like 2,300 when I came on the show.
Okay, so I remember saying that I was talking to a member of the media who I think is bought, and this person's on the air, and I remember saying, because I remember you speculating sometime after you first came on a couple of years ago, and you were saying, hey, it could go to 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 an ounce, and this person said, there's no way that'll ever happen. There's no way. And here we are. 2 years later.
I've calculated out what I do think is a level that gold would essentially begin to back the assets in the world. Like, what would be a level where gold made sense given the other financial assets in the world? Right. And it's roughly $100,000 an ounce.
Wow. So,
and just to tell people who think this can't happen, it was only a few years ago when Bitcoin was $5,000 a coin, and it went to $125,000 a coin.
Amen, brother.
So for people who say gold can't go from 5,000 to 100,000, if Bitcoin did, okay. Now, am I saying gold is going to $100,000 an ounce? No. In my lifetime, I would be shocked if I saw that. What I am saying is it's nowhere near. And you can look at it in different ways. And I analyze this every month. You get a monthly treasury statement. You get, I analyze all the government data, and you can look at it. Okay, I know exactly what we've had according to the books, which is a whole other conversation. But we have 261 million ounces, roughly 8,000 metric tons that's owned by the United States. If you look at that gold, what does that back relative to? This is a way economists and people like me look at this. What is the United States gold holdings relative to United States treasuries? Okay, like the bonds we issue. There was a point where when gold went in the 1980s, okay, and it hit $800 an ounce, and it went from $35 to $800 an ounce. 25 times it went up in a 10-year period, where it was 120% of our treasury debt.
Right.
We have 38 trillion in treasury debt. If you go to 128 times that, or 120% of that, you're at roughly $50 trillion of a gold market. Where is that? That's $9,000 gold. But our treasury debt's only going to go up. So if you think that gold could get back to something like that level, so in other words,
the debt's going up faster.
Yeah, looking at relative situations, gold relative to debt, all this, we're still not anywhere near where we have been in the past. If you look at gold inflation adjusted, where it was on those highs, we're not really that much higher than those highs. So in other words, there's a lot of belief when people look at the gold move is to say this is a bubble. This was burst on Friday. It's over. These people were suckers for buying gold at 4,500, 5,500, and they're going to get killed, and it's all done. That's not what I'm saying is going on. What I'm saying is that this is a pause in a longer term rally. I'm not telling you to go. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not saying go out and buy gold today, although I did buy a lot of gold yesterday. What I'm saying is that I don't think that this thing is over by a long shot.
Amen. I'm actually excited to hear you say this. I think you're always nailing it on this show way ahead of time. And so I'm glad that you're saying that, because a lot of people are hearing those messages. And, we also have a system coming in, and we know that they want to bring in this system so that nothing is off the books. Everything is going to be digitalized, right? There's no capacity for cash. There's no capacity for anything but making sure that every single transaction you make. So I wanted your thoughts on that, because if that's what you want to bring in, this is stopping that. This is so what will they do? Kind of like it goes back to the question of, now you have to report whether you have $3,000 worth of silver starting February 15th. What do you suspect some of the moves might be with gold and silver? Or can you at this point? I don't know. I'm just asking for speculation.
I think, you mentioned some of the questions from your callers, which are very astute. So I'll get a little bit, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but so as I mentioned, the February gold contract expired on Friday.
Okay.
This forced people to buy at the beginning of last week because they were short. Now, what happened after that was amazing, which is yesterday. JP Morgan came out and raised its gold target to $6,300 an ounce by the end of the year.
Whoa.
If JP Morgan, this is something that I would not doubt was actually floated up and approved by the Treasury Secretary.
Okay.
JP Morgan is not just another bank. JP Morgan is the private arm of the United States Treasury. They have been since the panic of 1907. When JP Morgan himself brought all the bankers in and said, here's what we're doing. This panic was what then led those bankers to do the Creature from Jekyll Island in 1913 and create the central bank.
Okay.
JP Morgan also, in the last couple of years, became the holder of the physical gold assets for GLD, the gold ETF, instead of HSBC, which was based in London, and then there was another arm in Zurich.
Okay.
Physical gold. Remember those news reports months ago about physical gold and plane loads coming to the United States? This is gold becoming replacing the United States Treasury as the backbone of the financial system. This is not something that's happening over 3-6 month period. This is a multi-year process. Probably be completed by the end of the decade, at which time gold will be over $20,000 an ounce. But basically, what's happening is everybody is recognizing that we can't have money based on whatever the Federal Reserve decides to print. Saudi Arabia is no longer going to accept U.S. Treasury bonds for oil. That the Federal Reserve can then print 3, 5, $10 trillion and turn those treasury bonds into toilet paper.
Right.
So nobody's going to accept this anymore. They're all doing gold. Saudi's doing gold. China's doing gold. Brazil is doing gold. India is doing gold. Russia's doing gold. Everybody's now understanding we can't use treasuries as the trading cards for commodities. Commodities are now being traded for gold, not for United States Treasury bonds. So this gold needs to expand. The oil market is still 4 to 5 times the size of the gold market. Gold needs to expand massively. And so this is like people are going to look back on this moment the same way that we look back at Bitcoin in 2013.
Yeah.
When it was $600 a coin. And they're going to say, oh my God, I could have bought Bitcoin for $1,000 a coin. I remember seeing it for $1,000 a coin. And I thought that was ridiculous. And then it goes to $120,000 a coin. People are going to look back and say, oh my God, I could have bought gold for $5,000 an ounce. And now it's $25,000 an ounce.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to be nice and easy.
It never does. It never does. It's always the long game.
Gold went down 80 or Bitcoin went up and down like 70, 80. Remember, Bitcoin was $65,000 in 2021, and then it was $16,000 in 2022. The volatility is increasing. So this is risk and reward. The volatility is increasing in gold because the potential reward is increasing in gold.
Amazing. I love this. So do you put it in a coffee can in the backyard? What do you do? Yeah. I'm hoping that people are taking you seriously on this, because I feel the same way. I remember when Bitcoin came out, we were doing shows on it, and I thought it was ridiculous. I really did, and did not listen, did not think that it would do what it's done. And so I think definitely, my gosh, you've been right this whole time. So, I mean, pay attention to what Mel's saying.
And I'll tell you, Bitcoin is actually getting interesting to me for the first time in a long time at this level. I'm not telling people to buy it. I'm not saying we're at the bottom of it. But we're now at 74,000 today. It was 126,000 in October. 74,000 is about where it was in April. And people might say, Mel, see, this is where I'm different than a lot of the gold guys are. They have one story.
Yeah.
Gold's going up, equities are going to collapse, stock market's going to collapse, and Bitcoin is trash. I'm actually not that type of a guy. I'm actually the type of a guy that thinks you have to look big picture and you have to be open-minded to other things.
Right.
I'm not saying necessarily that Bitcoin is great. I'm not saying that Bitcoin is the new gold or better than gold. Far from it. I've never said that. I've always been suspicious of it. But I do feel like it provides a control mechanism for the powers that be. I do feel that it has certain characteristics that are monetary in nature. It has a scarcity. There can only be 21 million Bitcoin. And you have BlackRock behind it. And so I'm a finance guy. I'm looking for a profit. And what I'm saying is, do I think there's potential for Bitcoin to have a resurrection, even though it's been in this massive bear market, going from over 120,000 to today, where it was under $75,000 a coin, which is still incredible compared to where it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So what I think is that, what's happening is we have over $330 trillion in sovereign debt, whether you're talking about Japan, Europe, United States, Great Britain. There's going to be a massive money printing going on. And as fiat currency swarms the system, there are going to be people who want to look for places as stores of value. The number one preeminent one that has existed for thousands of years is gold. It will never be replaced. Silver, important. But you also have Bitcoin, which is being touted by different people like crypto czar David Sachs. The Trump family's connected to it. So could you begin to see some
Yeah.
sort of a resurgence in price there? Certainly. So I always think the core of anybody's portfolio should be gold. I think gold is money, as J.P. Morgan himself said in his 1913 testimony to the United States Congress. He
Mm-hmm.
said gold is money, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think silver is, very great, but I do think if it gets too expensive, governments will clamp down on it because it has such an important industrial use. So I think there's a cap on silver that I don't think exists on gold.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and you've got Bitcoin. I mean, you've got this whole thing. And the other thing I would add for people that do follow markets is it's pretty incredible what's been happening in different emerging markets, where they're talking about Brazil, India, um, basically places where assets are not denominated in United States dollars just keep going crazy. So the S&P 500 was up 15% last year. The Brazilian stock market ETF, EWZ, was up over 50%. So if you're putting your money in gold, this is what I do: gold, silver, some Bitcoin, emerging markets, Brazil, India, and then, yes, some United States. But am I putting a bunch of money into Apple? I mean, these things are dead. I mean, honestly, like this is where money goes to die, is into the Nasdaq these days. The Nasdaq is at the same level it was in September. But if you look at something like emerging market ETF or gold, they're up like 50%. So if people have their 401ks invested in the S&P 500 and they're like, oh, I'm flat year to date. But what if people that have been in gold, silver, Brazil, India? I mean, you do not want to be invested in US dollar denominated assets.
Amen. So you always look at Japan and you try to see what they're doing. What is Japan doing right now? What are they up to right now? That you always notice what Japan market is.
Japan's our partner in crime. You got to keep an eye on Japan. I mean, and I will tell you this because I mentioned software. So, I mean, software companies have been collapsing. I don't. You might not follow these names, but there are names like Salesforce and Adobe that are now below where they were at the April lows, the tariff lows. So I think we might actually be ready for a bounce in some of these software names. So people listen to me and they're like, Mel saying, don't own software. In a short-term technical perspective, I actually think some of these names are getting overdone to the downside. But what I am saying is that longer-term horizon, this is the narrative.
Okay.
This is a reverse of the Einstein corollary. Einstein had E equals mc squared.
Yeah.
Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. I'm saying that software equals basically commodities times the speed of light squared. So commodities, with copper, with aluminum, with whatever, you can now build data centers. You combine that with the speed of light, you can create software. This is Claude Code. This is Anthropic.
I see.
This is why these software companies are collapsing. This is why Salesforce is down 60, 70% from the highs, because they're just a software app. Software is becoming a commodity. Commodities are becoming software, because if you can take commodities, copper, aluminum, create your GPU chips, put them into a data center, feed in the energy, have someone type up, create me a customer relationship management software application, and the AI creates it in 22 seconds. What value is there to these all the moats of these software companies are dissolving. So when people look, why is Adobe Photoshop? I can go into Banana on Google Gemini and I can say, create a picture of me and Kate in the middle of Puerto Rico, dancing salsa. It'll do it in like 5 seconds.
So it's like the CDs. It's like the CD of the music world. You have it on your phone. You're streaming it.
It's being replaced. And these are the biggest companies in the U.S. stock market. So what's happening is equities around the world are going up because they're based in Brazil. They're companies like Vale, which create iron and steel, and they're companies in other places that create hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening in the United States is we have a bunch of software companies. And software, the nominal value of software is basically going to zero
Right.
because AI can recreate it. So if you believe everything that Elon Musk says, there's going to be data centers in space, and we're going to, if you believe this is the world we're heading into,
Mm-hmm.
why do you want to buy a US software company? You
Yeah.
don't.
You
And
know.
everybody is selling them. And that's why the NASDAQ, as we were talking today, I mean, that was why I was a little late today, because today was a huge day. The NASDAQ at one point today was down over 500 points, which is a huge drop. This is software companies are now basically, Salesforce is below where it was at the April, Liberation Tariff Day lows. I mean, these software companies are collapsing because AI. Why would a company want to pay Salesforce $10 million when they can have people vibe code with Anthropic to do all their stuff? And people are realizing, and then there are jobs being lost. And so we are heading into a brave new world of AI and collapse of the dollar as the monetary system. And so when people look at their stock portfolios and they're like, oh my gosh, we were up 2% yesterday. Now we're down 2% today. What's going on? Investors are struggling to process this. They're struggling to understand, what should I value a company like Salesforce? And is it going to go to zero like
Mm-hmm.
com?
Yeah.
Or is it going to somehow resurrect itself? And nobody knows. And when nobody knows, the default is shoot first, ask questions later, and people are selling.
What did you think about all of the speculation that was sent out on social media, as far as some of those that are always hitting NBC and ABC, saying that Starlink, that they're about to go public, and that they're going to kick the market of AT&T and all those guys that work for the government aside? What is your take on? Because my take on Elon. I think he's just a bought and sold puppet, but for what he's doing. But what's your take on like Starlink and where all this is headed?
Yeah, I mean, look, Elon. Elon is somebody that I think maybe me and you have a little different opinion on.
Okay.
I do think you've made some great points, which is how do these people essentially come from nowhere and get to where they are, and I do think that Elon has a little bit of a visionary perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I say that is because if you're saying he's propped up by the CIA, well, the CIA props up a lot of people and they don't turn into Elon Musk.
Right.
So even if he is being propped up by the CIA, what he's been able to achieve is pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think he has something but I do think that everything he's doing is completely transparently bailing out his horrible purchase of Twitter. I mean, he paid $44 billion for Twitter. Then the stock market collapsed in 2022.
Yeah.
He had all of these investors. So what did he do? He merged Twitter into XAI. Now he's merging XAI into SpaceLink or SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's making his Twitter investors whole. He's Morgan Stanley, all these people that backed his purchase of Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
which was disastrous, are now made whole.
I see.
Because the Twitter shareholders got shares in XAI, and now the shares in XAI holders are going to get shares in SpaceX. So, and now everybody's happy. He made everybody happy. Basically, he's like a guy who goes onto a corner and borrows a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy says, hey, give me my money back. And he's like, I'll get it. And then finally they hold him to the choke in the thing in the alley. And he's like, okay, I'll merge SpaceX and XAI. You'll get your money back. So everybody's getting their money back now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how they do it. I mean, this is not like anything more sophisticated than some Brooklyn street racket. Whether you're looking at the Rothschilds, Musk, the Epsteins, the central bankers, Kevin Warsh, I mean, this is the way the world works. Donald Trump, Greenland. By the way, Donald Trump's whole Greenland idea, you know who it comes from?
Yes.
Kevin Warsh's father-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, this whole thing is super tied together. I mean, I think it's
Oh,
for introducing us, well, not introduce it because it's been on the book since the 40s, but making us into a region without us realizing it, giving us totally different distractions as to why we're doing it. But yes, this has been on the books for a long time, and it involves the new Fed guy. Wow.
yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
so Ronald Lauder, Warsh's stepfather,
Mhm.
you can look at it on the internet anywhere. He's the one who told Trump we should get Greenland. I mean, this is not,
Mhm.
this is a little club. This is
Yeah.
a Manhattan club. Trump is totally tied in through Kushner to the Jewish hierarchy.
And
This is
the new
real.
Gaza, the new got building out of Gaza.
Yeah, no, this
No, I know.
Bibi Netanyahu. These guys are all huge supporters. If you look at like Lauder, I mean, he's not just president of the World Jewish Congress. I mean, he's like in charge of every major Jewish organization across the globe.
Mhm.
He's like tight friends with Bibi. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a very tight group of people.
Mhm.
And Ronald Lauder was born in 44. He's roughly around the age of Trump. This is a group of like 75 to 85-year-old men that know each other for decades, perhaps even longer than you and I have been alive, that know each other's secrets,
Mhm.
that are basically built empires
Mhm.
around these relationships,
Mhm.
and they continue to leverage these relationships. This is what it is. It's not like some meritocracy where we're
Right.
looking at who's going to be the best person to lead the Federal Reserve and we're going to put him in charge. No, this is my buddy who also went to University of Pennsylvania, who I've known for 50 years, and this is his son-in-law, and I'm going to be able to talk to him, and then
Mhm.
he can talk to his daughter, and then his daughter can whisper into his ear in the bed at night.
Yeah. And I don't think the deep state ever takes a break. And I think that they have stripped the presidency over the last 100 years of any real power. I think a lot of it looks like it's being done by the presidency, but it's not. And they pull the strings and they own the presidency no matter what side is in. I wish more people, you might not agree with that. I'm not saying you're agreeing with me, but I'm just saying I wish more people would see both sides as one. It's really tough right now because of the fact that Trump's in, that it's really difficult to get people to understand that both sides are owned by the same. They're both the feathers of the same bird, and that's the hardest concept people have right now, too.
And I would add one last thing, and
Sure.
this is actually in defense of Trump
Uh-huh.
because I voted for Trump.
Sure.
Is Trump is an ultimate pragmatist,
Mm-hmm.
and what Trump recognizes
Mm-hmm.
is he would never be sitting where he is if he didn't play games with these people.
Mm-hmm.
So if Trump was a man of principle that said, these are my principles,
Mm-hmm.
I will not violate them,
Yeah,
he would never be sitting in the Oval Office.
exactly.
And so
One in Congress would be sitting there.
Trump, and I'm not condemning him. I'm not judging him.
I
I'm
know.
just saying he's made the Faustian bargain.
Mm-hmm.
He has said, this is the way the game is played.
Yep.
These are the people I need in my back pocket. I
Yep.
need BB. I need Ghislaine Maxwell. I need these big Jewish donors. I need
Yeah.
uh, Goldman Sachs. I need the tech billionaires. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting in Mar-a-Lago playing golf.
Right.
And so what I'm doing is I'm not judging Trump and saying
Yeah.
he's a bad
It's
person.
not about him, actually.
No, I'm judging basically anyone in power. Basically, what I'm saying is anyone who gets to that level of power is going to be dealing with corrupt people because you will never get to that position of power if you don't.
Yes, I agree with you. Now I know you got to go, but look, I wanted to get your words on Epstein. What do you think the whole Epstein thing's about? Because I know you study so much. I know you're mostly into the economy, but any thoughts at all that you want to share?
Well, the thing I tell my wife is that that the people that rise to the top of human organizations are psychopaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are deviant, Kate. I mean, these people are sick.
Oh, yeah.
whether it's Bill
Oh,
Gates. I don't know any facts. I'm not going to cast aspersions or do anything that could be considered libel. But
mhm,
I think there is a tendency, whether it's in corporate organizations,
mhm.
political organizations, for people that are more or less psychopathic
Okay.
to rise to the top level. That's why I'm not in the top of an organization. For people that don't know me, I'm someone who worked in finances for a long time. I made money and now I trade my own money and I
Right.
occasionally pontificate on X in different
You're
places.
retired. Come on.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it retired because I do trade pretty diligently,
Yeah.
but I'm an investor, an author,
Yeah.
and uh,
Yeah. Give her
and
applause. Go
a
get it.
former fintech executive. That's what it says on my website.
Yeah.
Author, investor, former fintech executive. That's what I am. I've seen what needs to be done if you
Mhm.
want to get to those positions. And I wasn't willing to do it, and I didn't see any reason to do it because I was never greedy. I was like, if I can make a few million and do my thing and retire early and trade and live my life and travel with my family and enjoy my life, like that's good enough to me. I don't have any desire to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
I'm very happy being relatively independently wealthy and trading and doing these things, and that's very sufficient for me. I think these people have a psychological delusion. I think they have a power hungry delusion. I think they have a domination like fetish. I think
Mhm.
they have all of these things that go on.
They're
And so
Satanists.
that and so what happens is
Yeah.
what you'll find is that these personality traits are very common in the people that rise to the top. And so somebody like an Epstein can very easily be like, hey, come to my island and we can do this and we can do that because these people are all sick.
Yeah.
They're sick.
Yeah.
And here's one thing I would say, and this is very different than tribal times.
Mhm.
And there's a guy who wrote a book about this, and it was basically saying that when we lived in tribal times, because everybody knew each other since they were a child,
Mhm.
like you could kind of tell because everybody knew, like, oh, that's the guy that he was 10 years old, like to kill cats.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and you knew like he's a psychopath. In modern society, like that kid that killed cats when he was 10 reinvents himself when he's 20, reinvents himself. Like nobody knows. And then they get good at concealing their
Mhm.
psychopathy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
many of these people are pathological liars,
Mhm.
extremely good at concealing their psychopathy. And then they go to the top, and then it's not a surprise that if you give them this outlet, this island where
Mhm.
Bill Clinton can hang with Mick Jagger and Bill Gates, and they can indulge in all their psychopathic behaviors,
Mhm.
that they did it. And I honestly think that's what they are. I am an anti-authoritarian type person, a libertarian type person.
Mhm.
I'm not someone who's a Trumper, or even though I did vote for Trump, I'm just someone who tries to see the world the way it is and then tries to trade it in markets.
You're not
And
in a tribe is what you're saying. You're not in
yeah,
a
yeah,
good.
I'm not a political animal
Yeah.
at all, you know.
Mm.
No.
I so appreciate you. Mattison.com, Mattison, melmattison.com, and go there, follow him on X. And you've been a whiz at this, and you whatever you're saying is just always usually right on the money. So it's, I mean, don't forgive the pun, but this year, if you were to give a prediction, because we are in February,
Mhm.
we're in February, but just out of January, what would you say it lands at by Christmas? What would you say gold is at by Christmas time? And it's just a guess, and I'm not going to hold you to it, nor is anybody.
Mm,
Just a guess, speculation.
just a guess,
Yeah.
probably something in the neighborhood of 6,500.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think you're right, and I think that it's
Not a lot.
no.
It's less than $1,000 from the high we hit last week. It's a
Yep.
small, but I think there'll be ups and downs, and
Yeah.
there'll be volatility. I could be way low on that,
Yeah.
but eh, I'd
I
say
don't think so.
6,500. And then if you said, what about the Christmas after that?
Uh huh.
8,500,
Wow.
and then that would be the Christmas after that is 27. And so I would say 10,000 by 2028. And I think that's very conservative to
Yep.
say gold's 10,000 and out. So I'm not a crazy person that's saying it's going to 25,000 next year.
Yeah.
But could it be 10,000 in 2028? Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. I appreciate you. Mel Mattison, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on today. We really needed to hear from you. I
Well,
needed
I
to know what the
appreciate it.
hell was going on. So
I missed you, Kate. It's been a long time since we talked.
I
So
know, me too, me too. So thank you. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you. And of course, I will there's some things I want to say. There's some videos I want to say, and he's quite amazing. He's, it's been fun to have him on the show because honestly, what he's saying is right on the money, right on the money. So, and I think it's wise to kind of listen to him and say, okay, be in gold and silver through these ups and downs, because I do think it's going to land there. When he said we would be at 5,000, I can't even tell you how many people were like, oh no, never, never, never. Well, there you go. He was right. He was right. All right. So first off, I want to give you this comment. This was from one of the Hollywood tards. Let's see, which one is this? This one is Billie Eilish, that little Satanist. So, did I say that? No, I didn't mean that. I think she is, but that's just my speculation. Here she was at the Grammys. Just wanted to make a comment about this. Here you go. Here's Billie Eilish.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
And there's a bunch of Hollywood nimrods going, yeah, okay, yeah. Stolen land or fought for land? Do they say that about Europe? Do they say that about any other land? Only the USA. So here it is again.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Oh, the way they educate their own audience is amazing. Because what do? They showed all the Nimrods going, yeah, yeah. Okay. So there was that one. Now I want to play you this clip from the Epstein video. Okay. The one that just came out, the Epstein interview that just came out recently. Gee, where's it been? In the freezer for like 6 years? Anyway, okay. So I'm always curious about timing, but I want to give you this comment, and this is Epstein talking.
It might just ask a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not.
That's Epstein.
So, in fact,
Why is it not dirty money?
because I earned it. A heart.
But you earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them, if I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
Himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars
Do you-
for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Why would you say
Why'd you say
that? Okay, so it was a strange comment. And of course, this whole Epstein thing, I just have to say, there's something wrong with it on a lot of levels. And I've been thinking this for a while. There's something wrong with it. Do I think these Satanists are in our government? Do I think they abuse and do things that are so heinous that it's hard to comprehend? I do. He seems to be the scapegoat for all of this. And this seems to be a very big distraction from everything else going on. Because if people can like hone in and zero in on, are the papers going to get released? Are they not? Are they not? Are they not? There was over 1 million documents. And this was from his trials from years and years ago. Okay. Almost a decade ago. And we're still not close to seeing any of it. Do you actually think you're going to be told the truth about it? And here's the other thing too. Just the way it's been framed, I don't know. There's something up with it. And I don't know the full answer to that yet. I do know that that there's a very scapegoatish thing happening with this. It's kind of like, if you can get all eyeballs on him and deal with him and see what he was doing, then everyone else was never part of anything. Does that make sense? It's like, look at him, and There's just so much more going on. I've also told you that I think that there's there's always been a strange connection between Melania and Epstein. And this is how Trump met Melania. And there's like a decade of Melania's life that's missing. And, you know, was she trafficked over here? You know, was there a situation where Epstein was involved with that meeting for lots of different reasons? I don't know. But I've always been very skeptical, curious about that and about the hiding of that. That information doesn't seem to be out there anywhere. No one's ever talking about that. And so, do you want to hide the information? You don't want it out of the bag because of what people will say and you're trying to protect somebody? Sure. But there's something strange going on within that. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of just give you my thoughts because the whole Epstein thing, I don't know, it's just being super puffed up. And here's the other thing. Why does Congress have to decide what happens with those files? That seems very strange to me that Congress has to vote on it. Why don't you just look at the files? Why don't you just deal with the files? They've made it into a red door, blue door kind of thing. And they've made it into this fight over the Epstein files for a reason and a huge distraction. And really and truly, where does it go back to? Because Congress, why would Congress have to vote on whether or not anyone sees that or not? That's bizarre. Okay. Because I don't think that goes back to our Constitution or what this country does. I don't think I think that was made up. I think that's a made up thing. Okay. So now I want to show you a piece from John Kiriakou. Okay. Now I had John on the show, very nice person. Okay. But there's a problem with what he's saying in this. And this is why I want to tell you this, because when I'm talking about disinformation, this is kind of where I'm at on the, he comments on Epstein. Let me play this for you. Okay. I might stop it just to kind of discuss along the way. Here's John Kiriakou, who's supposed to be an ex-CIA agent, but they're never an ex anything. They are a current CIA agent. Okay. So here you go.
Think Jeffrey Epstein was a spy?
I believe very strongly he was a spy, yes.
And who do you think he was working for?
The Israelis. I'm confident it was the Israelis.
So I'm not going to say the Israelis weren't involved, but why isn't he saying he's our guy? Do you find that a little odd? Oh, it's the Israelis. It's always a way. COVID. Oh, that's China. Oh, oh, that's Russia. Oh, it's never us. I'm like, interesting. Okay. So here's John Kiriakou going on about Epstein. And he says he is he's a Mossad agent. Okay. Well, the Mossad and our CIA are hand in hand members of the same club, do things together like 9/11. Okay. So here we go.
Jeffrey Epstein is kind of the stereotypical example that they give you in training for what's called an access agent. This is a different kind of recruit. If you're a foreign intelligence service and you want information, like close-in information from a former president, from the CEO of the biggest company in the world, from a member of the British royal family, you're not going to recruit these guys. You're not going to recruit Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or Prince Andrew. So you do the next best thing. You recruit somebody who has regular access to them.
Number one, you wouldn't be recruiting Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton would have already been raised up as an asset. So this statement is very false. It's very weird because that's not how it happens. You don't get into those positions of the people that he was just talking about unless you've been into you've been to the kingdom of bought and sold CIA asset. So, okay, here we go.
And that person that you recruit is going to need to make these people feel comfortable and appreciated. And so you give him plenty of money. So he has this house on an island, or he has the whole island. And maybe you bring in young girls, you get them in compromising positions.
Have you ever wondered if everyone's gay in these circles? Just throwing that out there, because it's always on the Lolitas. It's always on the young teenage girls, and I don't think that's the problem. I don't think it's about girls, actually. And this is why, did you ever think about the fact that they're showing you these pictures that Andrew is taking and Bill Clinton's taking? Would you ever take a picture with an underage girl knowing it could get out, go somewhere? So they've reframed this as it's all about these teenage young girls, right? It's kind of a weird reframing. What if they're gay? What if Epstein's gay? What if they're all gay? I'm just throwing that out there.
Just in case you need to use what's called compromat, compromising pictures. We know now that Jeffrey Epstein's house had hidden video cameras in literally every room, including the bathrooms.
Okay, but it was in New Mexico, right? And in New York. So why is he always saying it's an Israeli thing instead of like the Mossad, instead of saying he's ours? Do you see what I mean? He's doing all this work here, the compromat, okay? He's doing all these, I'm going to spy on everybody to get junk on them, but he's doing it here. So how does that make sense that you're going to say he's just a Mossad agent? He's got to be part of our CIA as well, right? There's a lot of these. Epstein's only one of many. Okay.
Why? Why would he care what was going on unless it was to use that information against people?
Okay. So then you could say, well, Kate, the Mossad is blackmailing Americans. Okay, you could say that, except that all I've ever seen is them arm in arm, the Mossad and the CIA. So I would imagine that they were doing that together. That's what I would say. Okay, so I think that they do he was a Mossad thing, because remember I said there were 3 views on Israel. 1, Israel has a deep state. 2, Israel is a deep state. And 3, Israel has never been touched by the deep state ever. And every single thing that happens in Israel is altruistic. I'm not in the third camp. But it certainly feeds the leftists, okay? It feeds the leftists that the entire country, people included, are the deep state, right? So all I'm saying is it's like food for them. And I'm trying to separate and go, now, wait a second here. Okay, here we go.
Only the Israelis and the Russians use extortion.
Oh, we don't? Only the Israelis and the Russians use extortion, and we don't? I know people that have been personally threatened by state legislators in the name of the party, Republican even. I'm a conservative, okay? I'm sorry, this only happens in Russia and Israel? What?
Only the Israelis and the Russians use extortion as a motivator.
So would they have made Jeffrey Epstein rich?
Yeah.
In order to give him that access?
Yes.
How could they have done that?
Oh, that's easy. Governments are the only ones really that can launder money unfettered.
Really? Okay. I think that's false, but okay, they can and they do, but it goes a lot of different ways too. Okay. But here, listen to this next part. This is John Kiriakou, who says he's a former CIA agent. He's been on my show. I've interviewed him as a guest, and now he is an ex-CIA agent, which isn't possible. They're all CIA agents. Here we go.
And you can also do it through real estate, through fine art, and through horses.
Real estate, fine art, and horses. Do you notice how he never says NGOs? Non-governmental agencies that are actually governmental agencies, and a lot of money flows through them. Like, I'll give you for instance, like all the big Hollywood stars have. They're just all philanthropists, and they all have the same kind of charities. I think money is used with them as the puppetry and funneled through those as money laundering. But I think it goes beyond art and horses. I think it goes into, I don't know, ding, 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 drugs, like Afghanistan, the poppy field, okay, the poppy fields, and all of the drug trade that has grown and that the CIA has sanctioned.
Those are the 3 easiest ways to launder money.
No, they're not the easiest.
He would have spoken out at some point, no?
No. But it would explain why he got a sweetheart deal in 2006. I mean, this is a guy that's been convicted of child sex crimes. and he gets 6 months of house arrest with an ankle bracelet. We have mandatory minimums in this country. That's a 5-year mandatory minimum first offense.
Well, he's part of the club. That's why. I mean, he's part of the club. And I think he's used as, not that he's not guilty, but that he's used as a kind of an ornament of, it's kind of like the P. Diddy of Hollywood. In Hollywood, you have P. Diddy as the, if we take P. Diddy and we say he is the guy in charge of all the sex stuff going on in Hollywood, the pedophile stuff going on in Hollywood, then if we clean that up, we're all good. Everyone now is a saint in Hollywood if you just get rid of P. Diddy. Okay. So he's kind of the P. Diddy, right, of government. So they can just go, oh, it's all him. And I do think he's alive. Yeah. I never bought that that Epstein was dead ever. The guy on the stretcher with nothing over him, they always cover up the dead, but they wanted you to see his face to try to believe that was him. Anyways, no, I don't think he's dead. But I will say that I think that they're using him as the scapegoat for all of this to say, oh, see, everyone else is a saint. It was Epstein. Okay, here we go.
Some interesting power, didn't he?
Alex Acosta, who was the prosecuting attorney at the time, said that he was ordered by the attorney general to give Epstein the sweetheart deal. Well, who's the only person that can order the attorney general to do something? It's the president.
No, it's the deep state. The deep state runs the show, not the president. The presidency has zero power. I'm sorry. I know people, no matter if you're a conservative or the leftiest of lefties, okay? The presidency doesn't have any power. That's why King Dingaling, Biden, was licking his ice cream all the time. He was never actually doing anything, okay? So I know people want to believe. I know they just want to believe. But it's not true. The deep state's been running the show for a very long time. The JFK assassination was that pivot point where they said, see, we will do this in front of the nation, lie about it, and we will get people to believe an asinine story of the one shooter up in the building, the Lee Harvey Oswald. We'll get people to believe that. See, so don't cross us. And they've been running the show ever since as the kind of the utilization effort of the deep state. So the deep state uses them as the guys that carry stuff out. So all I'm saying is we're just sold such a box of rocks in this country about the presidency and its power. And if the presidency had true power and your vote actually mattered, okay, they'd never tell you to vote. They tell you to vote because it doesn't matter. You think it does, but it doesn't. Okay, here we go.
Was it because Epstein was working on Clinton?
If you had to bet everything you have on either him being a spy or not a spy,
yeah,
what would you bet on?
He was a spy. I feel very confident in that assessment.
Well, duh. I feel like going, it's the Captain Obvious news. Yeah, he was utilized by a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And do they do heinous things? Yes. Okay. In government, yes. This has been going on a long time. Don't you remember the 90s when they tried to bury all the boy prostitute stuff, and they tried to say it wasn't happening, and lawyers started dying and people started dying? All I'm saying is that we are very blind in this country. It's like we don't remember. We don't remember what has gone on and what has been buried in this country. So yes, you have a CIA agent. And I did this with Kevin Shipp too, because Kevin Shipp is supposedly ex-CIA, and no, he's not. He's still CIA. And I did this in the same way with his clip too. I had him on my show as well. And that is that you have a lot of people out there claiming to be ex-CIA that give you these bits of disinformation. Okay. Oh, the fastest, easiest way to move money around, money laundering, is art and horses. I'm going, yeah, those are some vehicles, but they're not by any means the fastest or the best way to move money around. And all you have to do is funnel it to to Gates, who is partnered with the government, or funnel it through medicine, or make it up and on the computer and then give it away in CARES Act money for Blovid, and then own the hospitals and own the airlines and own all this junk. So there's lots of ways to do it, and you do it through the NGOs. And so a lot of money is ciphered through the NGOs and propped up. Also Hollywood, they use Hollywood, they use housing, they use all kinds of mechanisms. And so art and money, art and horses. Okay. Drug trade is one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest. So there's a problem with that, I feel. Okay. So I also wanted to give you this too. Okay. So if we were going to talk about Erica Kirk for just a moment, and then I'm going to finish off with the best, kind of one of the best statements I've ever read about Israel. Okay. Israel and America. But let me go to Erica for just a moment here, because I think this is something to think about. And I had this thought that I want to share with you. Now, I'm not saying that all the thoughts I have are right on the money. Okay. I'm not saying that. And I would never say that. But I do get these thoughts once in a while. And I'm like, wow, it's like when COVID hit and I was like, yeah, this is a scam. Same kind of thought. Okay. So when you look at the whole Erica Kirk thing and you realize that there wasn't anyone around her that was family during the whole Charlie thing. Okay. I had Charlie on the show, had him as a guest probably a year and a half ago. Look, all I'm saying is that when it happened, Erica, with the no tear dabbing, and the smiling and the running turning point and the whole 9 yards. Okay. Never really see her with kids. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. Now, I know people can kind of feel that it's strange, that it's weird. Something's going on and they can't put their finger on it. Okay. She's a little too happy. Okay. A little too happy. But the whole Erica Kirk thing, what was really strange about that was she flew on the plane and she had JD Vance and his wife with her, not one family member. Then she goes to filming herself laying over him in his casket, no family. She had zero family around her ever. Okay. And I remember that and thinking, what is wrong with this picture? Like it just, all the things that we didn't talk about, that we didn't get shown. Then she had the fireworks show, and then she was getting mad at anyone asking any questions, and she was running turning point, and it really felt contrived, and it really felt like she was his handler in a marriage that was put together, more or less. Like she was sent to meet him and everything else. And that was kind of what I walked away with too. But the feeling I had was, she's going around the country now and she's doing all these Christian organizations with Greg Laurie, and Greg Laurie's had his share of problems. The only thing I want to say about that is that the feeling I got was that she, I wonder sometimes if there's going to be this poisoning of the well of Christianity for the youth, and that this is meant to be seen. It's meant to be discussed, and it's meant to be debated. Okay. And I would go as far as, and it's not that I'm coming down on Tammy Faye Baker, but it's like Tammy Faye Bakering it. Okay. It's kind of this poisoning of the well, so that there are a lot of people that go, something's wrong with this whole situation. Tyler Robinson was not the shooter. He's the patsy. And you've got a situation, and I said this from the very beginning, where this is very contrived and very weird. And nothing about it makes any sense. Okay. And we all know what grief can be. Everyone's lost somebody close to them, and it doesn't look like that. That we know. But now that they're doing all these Christian events, it makes me very, very worried for our youth, because when more stuff hits the fan, and I think more stuff will surface, and I think it will surface because they want it to. Does that make sense? It's not just about Turning Point. It's not just about taking Turning Point and kind of doing what they did to it with the Tea Party. With the Tea Party, what they did was just, they got in, what's his face? Newt Gingrich, and Newt was meant to destroy it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, above and beyond Turning Point, it's like this poisoning of the well in Christianity, because we're going to see a lot of people that are faking the Christianity, and then that is going to poison the well for our youth. So overall, I'm just, that's the feeling I got yesterday when I was kind of reviewing some things for the show. And I just thought I would share that with you because I just thought it was just really super odd. Okay. Just odd. So all right. Let's see here. Okay. So one more thing that I wanted to share with you today, and this is really actually really important. This is really important. So please listen to this, and I'm going to put it on a podcast for you because I do think it's extremely important. So this was written by Jana Bennon. And she wrote this. And so I got to give her credit because I wish I would have written this. I thought it was amazing. And I want to share this with you. And it was kind of how I feel about what's going on with Israel. Remember, I said there are 3 different views of Israel, and people don't know what to think because you have the leftists now hating on Israel. They never used to, but now they are. And it's very confusing out there what's going on. And you're seeing things happen, and something in your gut, again, is telling you something's wrong. So this is this commentary, and I'd like to read this to you if I can. If you stand with Christ alone, his finished work and his true doctrine and his command to speak the truth, and if you speak for oppressed people who are suffering injustice and death, you are now branded as an anti-Semite, even by those that call themselves Christians. Okay. See, in Christianity, it's always been where we give Israel a pat. We just support Israel. And if you don't, other Christians look at you like, what side are you on? It's like sides. It's very weird. Okay, let me go back to this. This accusation is coming not only from Zionist Judaism followers alone, but from within the church, from dispensationalist Zionists who have elevated a political Zionism and Zionistic Judaism above Christ himself. That is not biblical Christianity. So she said, I'm writing this refutation because of what is being demanded of us is not repentance from sin, but repentance from speaking the truth. Whoa. Today they are writing declarations and demanding public apologies. Tomorrow they demand your life. Can't say I disagree with this. She wrote, the time is no longer theoretical. The question before you now is unavoidable. Do you love truth enough to stand with Christ, or will you give in to fear? And she said, this is her response to this declaration. This declaration claims to defend biblical faith, but it does the opposite. It uses scripture as a weapon and quietly pushes Christ out of the center of Christianity. It opens by affirming the Bible, yet immediately abandons biblical honesty by accusing people of Jew hatred without clearly showing where truth-telling ends and sin begins. So it deliberately blurs the line between lying and dissent, between anti-Semitism and rejecting Zionist theology, or criticizing the modern state of Israel. So the kind of accusation cannot be tested, answered, or corrected biblically. And that is the point, she says. Scripture condemns false witness, but Scripture also commands discernment, testing claims, exposing error, and speaking truth when it offends, even when it offends. Okay? And here's an important statement from her. Labeling criticism itself as evil is not righteousness. It is censorship. Let me say that again. Labeling criticism itself as evil is not righteousness. It is censorship. Those verses quoted from Exodus, Proverbs, Ezekiel are misused. Those passages condemn lies and injustice, not disagreement with political nation of Israel or the Pharisaic theological system. Nowhere does the Bible say Israel as a modern state is exempt from moral judgment, or that Christians must use one moral standard for Israel and another for the rest of the world. See, this is why I said that there's 3 different views of Israel, and the third one is that it's untouched by the deep state. What delusional little cloud do you have to be sitting on to believe that? I mean, come on. Okay, let me go back. So she says, demanding protection from scrutiny while accusing others of double standards is itself injustice. Most seriously, this declaration redefines who belongs to Christ. It claims that attacking the kinsmen of Jesus according to the flesh is incompatible with Christianity, but Jesus himself said his family is not defined by blood, but by obedience to the Father. So the apostles teach the same. A covenant belonging is by the Spirit, not your ethnicity. Okay. So Romans 9 expresses Paul's grief for his Jewish kinsmen, but also clearly states that not all who are descended from Israel belong to Israel. Remember when Christ said, you say you are mine, but your hearts are far from me? That's what that reminds me of. Christ alone is the dividing line, elevating ethnic Jewish identity into a protected spiritual category, reverses the gospel and restores a flesh-based covenant that the new covenant ended. So while claiming to oppose hatred, this declaration uses Jesus as a shield for political Israel, because that's always what I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about the people. I'm talking about the government, the political Israel, okay? And its ethnic agenda, and implies that loyalty to Christ requires submission to a specific narrative about Jews in Israel. It even calls for church discipline, not for clear sin or heresy, but for speech and critique, abusing Matthew 18 and turning discipline into ideological enforcement instead of repentance and restoration. This declaration does not defend Christianity, it redefines it. It replaces Christ crucified and risen as the center of faith and prophecy with an untouchable ethnic collective of Jews and modern state of Israel. Okay? Those with their hearts far from him that say they are his. Okay. It treats disagreement as hatred and conformity to everything Israel does as holiness. Biblical Christianity rejects anti-Semitism completely, but it also rejects the idea that truth must be silenced to avoid offense, or that Christ's authority can be subordinated to any nation, people group, or ideology. This is where I also cut in and say the gathering of Israel is a people, not a geography. A people around the world, the gathering of Israel, okay? So let me go back. Christianity rises or falls on this alone. Jesus Christ is Lord. His gospel is complete. His truth cannot be bound. Any declaration that makes faithfulness to Christ dependent on allegiance to an external narrative has already departed from the faith it claims to protect. Bam. Bam. This is good. This is not the time for silence. What is being imposed on the church must be answered by the church. Talking about Christianity as a whole. Okay? What is being imposed on the church must be answered by the church. Private objections are no longer enough. We must speak together publicly and without fear. And she said, I'm calling on pastors and teachers and theologians and leaders and believers who are not dispensational Zionists. Okay? I think the Zionists are the pretenders. They are not actually Jewish. They pretend to be Jewish to hide behind the anti-Semitic claims, okay? So those who refuse, the dispensational Zionists who refuse to place any nation or ideology at the center of Christianity, to stand together and answer this nonsense with truth. We need our own declaration, okay? One that affirms that Christ is the center of prophecy and redemption, rejects the misuse of Scripture, and defends the gospel without compromise. The early church did this. The reformers did this. Now it's our turn. Christianity belongs to Christ, not to fear, not to money, not to any ideological system. And the time to answer is now. So, Jana, thank you for this eloquently put, wonderful analysis commentary on the problem with how we're viewing it here in the United States and what we're seeing. We're seeing leftists that condemn the entire Jewish people, okay, and the entire state of Israel. The government of the state of Israel was put in place by the UN for a reason. The construction of Israel in the geography of Israel was put there for a reason. Now, I understand the last days. I understand how all this turns out. I've read Revelation by John. I understand what's happening. Okay, I'm not dismissing any of that. What I'm saying is that what are we truly looking at here, and what are we giving a pass to, and what are we saying is 100% okay because we're told as Christians to give it all a pass. And I don't think that we should. I think that you need to declare what is truth and what isn't truth. Right? Okay. So stop, I have all these comments on YouTube right now, and there's so many people that are so stuck in the Trump conversation. All they can talk about is Trump. And I'm like, get out of the Trump conversation, okay? You know I'm conservative, but I'm even saying, get out of the Trump conversation. If you're having the conversation be all about Trump, you are of low intelligence at this point. And I'm so sorry to say that, but it's the truth. You don't have a very high intelligence, and you haven't studied, because you would know it's so far beyond that. Okay? There's a lot of puppets, and we're not seeing it for what it is. So I'm looking at these comments on the right of my YouTube, right? And I'm just watching this going, you've got to be kidding me. All these people that they could be bots too, because you never know. I mean, bots have the low intelligence factor too, because they're just there to get people angry at one another. But let me say this, you're going to hear a lot about Israel over the next few years, okay? And I told you back when I said 3 years ago when I said Trump's going in, and one of the reasons is going to be for war, okay? That's one of the reasons. And we're going to be hearing a lot about Israel, and there's a lot of skewed things about Israel, okay? A lot of skewed things about Israel, all right? And all I'm saying is that we need to interject a lot more truth about what's happening, but then take it and decipher it and make sure that we're saying things that are truthful about it, and reminding people that they are very much taking it because they see a TikTok video or they see an Instagram reel. And it's kind of the same reason why a TikTok video and an Instagram reel can help you lose your faith, right? That is not how we're supposed to act. We're supposed to be able to see the truth, point out the truth, and be bold enough to put it out there. And these are very true statements that I just read from Jana. Okay. Very true statements. So think about those, watch this again, and make sure that we all understand. Even if you don't agree with me right now, it's okay. It's okay. But maybe give it a whirl around the brain, because we're getting a lot of weird messages going on and a lot of tribe think. And the tribe think isn't good for us. It's not very healthy. And especially when it comes to Israel. And I think we need to understand who created it and why. They created it because they wanted to be able to utilize it for an agenda. Okay? For an agenda. There are Christians out there who think Zionists are the good guys. And what I'm saying is that if you look at it in today's terms, they have taken the word Zionist, hijacked that, and now that has been turned into the people that are actually like the Satanists, like the people that are that are controlling the show. And if you can't see that, do more study, do more really looking at it, and hear a lot of voices on it. I've done over 38,000 hours of study. And all I can tell you is that we have some big deceptions going on. The presidency doesn't have power. It's a show. It's all a show. Okay. That Alex Preddy thing was a show. We have to be able to see these things. Okay. It was a show. It was staged. We have a lot of staged events happening. And then we have a lot of mixed messaging going on. So then you're always wondering, well, I'm part of this tribe, but now my tribe likes this. I guess I need to like that too. And I just think that we need to combat that deeply. Deeply. We're in trouble, folks, and we're not sharing the right kinds of messages, probably because a lot of the media is bought and sold, and I'm not bought and sold. And I sleep at night because I'm not bought and sold. And if you're wondering who the hell I am, it's probably because there's been a huge concerted effort to keep me down, so that people do not hear what I have to say. And there's always a reason for that. Okay. I have been censored a lot. They don't want you to hear me. They only want you to hear the appointed right and left voices that they've appointed. Okay. This is why you're going to hear so much mixed messaging. But that message alone was worth saying on the show because I really, truly want us to get that message. Okay. Am I silent? Am I sneaking in Summer Low? No, but thanks. I don't drink. You know this. Anyway, I'm reading comments and it's kind of funny. All right. So I wanted to give you that message about Erica. I was going to play for you some more Epstein, but I'll save it. And then I also wanted to give you this Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun was a German Nazi. He was taken out and put as our head of NASA. Lots of that. Okay. And here we go. I just want to play this for you. This is his assistant on his deathbed. These are the things he said. So here's Carol for you. Werner von Braun. Here we go.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early 74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun had a history of working with weapons systems and had escaped from Peenemünde to come to this country and landed as vice president of Fairchild Industries when I had met him. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. And as practically a deathbed speech, he educated me about those concepts and who the players were in this game. What was most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again during the approximately 4 years that I had the opportunity of working with him. And that was the strategy that was being used to educate the public and decision makers, and the scare tactics, the spin that was being put on a weapon system. And that was how we identify an enemy. The enemy, at first, he said, the enemy against whom we're going to build a space-based weapon system that he thought was a ridiculous idea, unnecessary and very dangerous, not to mention too costly, etc. The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
There you go. That was Werner von Braun, the head of space. He was a German Nazi. We brought a lot of those over, and they headed the government. Ask yourself why that is. All right. So Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. But I wanted to play that because it's a lot more alien talk lately. Again, and we said this since 2017 when they started going, the government now sanctions the fact that there are aliens. Okay, after all those years of saying there weren't, it was such a big play, such a big show, and such a big lie. And the alien thing, when I was doing research on it, just so you know, back in the day, back in time, there were only like 13 sightings up until about the late 1940s. Okay. And those 13 sightings were actually more like asteroids. They weren't little green people. They were more like something fell from the sky, or they thought something had happened in the sky. Okay. Now we're talking all through history, 13 of documentation of something going on in the sky. When you get to the late 1940s, this is the time when we had the creation of the CIA, the spooks, okay? And all of the sudden, the Little Green Men 1950 movies came out, and they used Hollywood to take this narrative and then spin off so many movies and spin off so many things happening, okay? Little Green Men, Little Green Men. Then you had all of the sightings, the people sitting in the back of the truck in the field that were beamed up and prodded in the anus, like that's the only thing they want to do to us, and for decades, it's we got to prod you, and so having these weird tales of this, okay. And they were always in a truck with no camera, and it was always sitting in the back of a truck or in a field and beamed up, okay. Then after we all got cell phones, everybody pretty much had a cell phone by like 2001 or 2. I mean, it seemed like most everybody was getting them at that point. All the sightings stopped. All of the UFO came down and got me. Why? Because we all have a camera, a really good one, not a grainy one. And we could all see these things. So it completely stopped. So when I say there's no aliens, they're like little green men. Could there be life out there? I wouldn't say, definitively I could say there isn't life out there, but little green men coming in and little, aliens coming to get us. No, what comes in the form of technology we don't recognize would be things that DARPA's doing, or the things that the deep state's doing, not necessarily coming from outer space. Okay. But there is a concerted effort to get us to believe in the UFOs. Okay. It's also a concerted effort to get us to believe we landed on the moon. And again, what is it, like in a week or so? I can't remember the dates, but there's a definite concerted effort to tell us that it's been since 1972 and the end of the Vietnam War, but we're going up again. They do this every time, and there's always a reason why they can't. And it's been, our spacesuits aren't hot enough. The food isn't good enough. They're getting sick. We just can't. We don't. And the admission that they don't have the technology. So when it comes to what Werner von Braun was supposedly saying on his deathbed, the guy that headed NASA, and said they're going to use these things when terrorism doesn't work. They're going to use aliens as the next imaginary thing coming in to get us, but it will all be government designed. It will not be what we think it is. Okay. And now they're starting to do all these things in the sky, right? We've got all these northern lights everywhere. We've got all this stuff going on that's weird, that's different than it ever has been in diverse places where we've never seen it before. Okay. There's something bigger going on here, but I don't think it's courtesy of any aliens. I think it's courtesy of our government, to tell you the truth. So I leave you with that today, the Werner von Braun clip by Carol, his assistant, because it's so important to kind of keep that in the back of our mind as the news is cycling. And people like me have a hard time getting out there. So share the show, subscribe, share it, because I'm in YouTube jail a lot. And if you don't see me for a period of time, it's probably because they've jailed me again in YouTube. But let me just tell you, let's see, the world is flat. I love these people. These like ignoramuses. Look, I'm not even going to comment on the flat earth. I actually really don't care I really don't care about that one. But let me just say this. Project Bluebeam is alive and well. And Project Bluebeam is the problem, not little green men. Look, I always get a lot of ignoramuses on YouTube, and there's only a few sound voices that actually comment, and I love you guys that comment. You guys are awesome. You guys know I love you. So please go to the website. I'm drinking Cardio Miracle. This is a double dose. Why is that? Because I am actually 38, let's see what time is it? 38 hours into a fast right now, and I feel fantastic. Fantastic. I'm only doing liquids. I'm only doing bone broth. I'm doing, there is a dairy-free, sugar-free protein shake, and then Cardio Miracle. And I sip on this all day because it gives me energy. I obviously am losing weight because I'm fasting, but I just want to get my body back in shape again, and I'm feeling my age. And so this has been helping enormously, and it tastes good, and I actually crave it. Cardio Miracle is fantastic because it delivers vitamin D to your system in the winter right now when people the sun isn't really capable of doing that. The sun is only capable of doing that. Really, your strongest efforts are going to be from April to October. So even between that time, you should be taking a vitamin D supplement. This is the best kind I've seen. I also used to take Balance of Nature. This is Balance of Nature times 20. This has the fruits and greens of 20, pills of Balance of Nature. So this is why I switched. I'm just telling you because I'm just being honest with you. I switched because this has so much more, and it delivers everything to your cells. So this is what I'm telling you. Go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate, Kate, and get it. Okay. It is amazing. Also, on the ticker down below, you can see the different things that you can go order as well. It helps me stay on this channel, but also it helps the show as well. And there's so many things that, oh my gosh, we need to do. So many things we need to learn. And I really appreciate those that are open-minded to listening to me. You don't have to agree with me, but at least give it a whirl, because I promise you I'll be different probably than a lot of the voices out there, because a lot of the voices out there are very controlled. They are controlled. They're controlled on the right. They're controlled on the left. And as sad as that is, you better believe that you have so much control going on now that it's hard to get any message out. So I'm constantly in jail because of it, in YouTube jail and whatnot, but please get these messages out and share them. Also, get the ebook on cancer. If you don't want to do chemo, which I would highly advise against because it has a 97% kill rate, what I would tell you to do is get the ebook that I put out, because it's all the pertinent information. I even updated it, added in Dr. Brian Artis's information so that people can get a clear view of what to do. Just make sure you're getting that. And it's right at katetalks.myshopify.com. And you can grab your copy, put it on your computer so that you always have it, okay? And print it out too. And then you can help yourself or a loved one, because cancer's through the roof. 1 in 2 gets cancer now, okay? Love you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. I'll be back tomorrow. Really appreciate Mel Mattison coming on. That was great. He's fantastic, isn't he? All right. I love the truth tellers out there. My hat tip to the truth tellers. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Melissa and Susan. And you guys can call in. Thanks, you guys.